The Asterian Gate was one of the largest trade stations in the outer galaxy, a place where merchants, smugglers, diplomats, and wanderers crossed paths. It floated in the void like a metal city, its docking arms stretching out to greet incoming ships from every known world. Commander Elara Voss stood on the main observation deck watching the endless flow of traffic. Cargo freighters lumbered in, their hulls streaked with space dust. Sleek shuttles zipped between hangars. Somewhere below, the market decks were already alive with shouts, trade offers, and the smell of alien food. For most, this was just another day. For Elara, it was her job, keeping the station secure, making sure no weapons, contraband, or dangerous tech slipped past her watch. That morning, she was called to Dock 47. A small Vurak freighter had arrived, its captain claiming to carry rare goods. The Vurak were known traders, but also known for their cruelty. They were tall, thin beings with scaled skin and ridged skulls, their slit pupil eyes always scanning, always calculating. 2 Terran cargo inspectors were already inside the docking bay, moving methodically through the ship's containers. Everything seemed normal. Crates of metals, preserved food, alien machinery. But then, one inspector stopped. A sound came from a long, sealed container. A faint, muffled sound. Elara walked over, her boots echoing on the metal floor. What's in this one? The Vurak captain didn't look concerned. Special cargo. Delicate. Do not open. Elara narrowed her eyes. Open it. The Vurak tilted his head. Terran law does not apply here. This is a neutral station. Open. It. The inspector used a cutting torch. The hiss of melting metal filled the air. Locks gave way and the lid slid back. Inside, huddled, in the shadows, was a human child. She couldn't have been more than 8 years old. Her clothes were torn, her face pale from lack of light. Her wrists and ankles were red and blistered from tight restraints. Her lips trembled, but no sound came out. She was too scared even to cry. For a moment, the entire bay was silent. Elara's jaw clenched. What is this? She demanded. The Vurak captain shrugged, as if showing her nothing unusual. She broke one of our laws. This is her punishment. We were taking her to a penal colony. Punishment? She's a child. In Vurak space, the captain said smoothly, age does not matter. Law is law. Elara stepped forward, her voice low and dangerous. Terran law says harming a human is an act of war. The captain actually laughed, a cold rattling sound. War. For one child, you wouldn't dare. Your kind talks big, but you're not ready to face us. No one will dare touch our worlds. Elara turned to the inspectors. Get her to the medbay now. Inspectors gently lifted the girl, who flinched at every movement. One of them murmured reassuringly, but her wide eyes stayed fixed on the Vurak captain until she was out of sight. Elara faced the alien again. You just made the worst mistake of your life. The captain only smirked. Back in her command office, Elara sent an urgent encrypted message to Earth Command. She didn't hold back. She attached the full security footage, every second of the child being found, every word the Vurak captain had said. She knew the video would cause outrage. When the reply came, it was brief. Stand by for orders. But Elara wasn't good at waiting. She paced the room, replaying the Vurak's mocking voice in her mind. The insult wasn't just against her or even the child. It was against all of humanity. The Vurak had treated human life as if it meant nothing and dared to laugh in her face. Her thoughts were interrupted when her second-in-command, Lieutenant Wren, stepped in. Commander, the medbay reports the girl is stable, but... He hesitated. They found evidence of repeated restraints. Possibly for days. Lara's eyes hardened. She hasn't spoken yet, Wren added. She just stares at the wall. Elara closed her eyes for a moment, then looked at him. Get the Iron Vow ready. Wren blinked. That's a warship. Yes, Elara said flatly. We're going to war. Later, standing in the Iron Vow's hangar, Elara addressed her crew. They were a mix of seasoned Terran soldiers, engineers, pilots, every one of them loyal to the core. I'm not going to dress this up, she began. A human child was found chained inside a Vurak ship, burn marks on her wrists, bruises. On her body, the Vurak call it punishment. I call it what it is. Cruelty. An attack on one of our own. Murmurs rippled through the crew. The Vurak think no one will dare touch their worlds, Elara continued. They think we'll sit back and accept this. They are wrong, she pointed, toward the stars beyond the hangar doors. We are going to remind them what humanity does when you harm one of us. We are going to make them regret ever laying a finger on that child. A silence followed, the kind of silence before a storm. Prepare all systems for departure, Elara ordered. We move at dawn. That night she stood alone at the observation deck of the Iron Vow. The stars stretched endlessly, cold and distant. Somewhere out there, the Vurak homeworld spun quietly, cities filled with those who believed they were untouchable. Elara's reflection in the glass looked back at her, eyes steady, jaw set. They'll learn, she whispered. By the time we're done, they'll wish they'd never heard the word human. In the darkness, the ship's engines began to hum. The war had not yet started. But in Elara's mind, it had already begun. The Iron Vow cut through the black like a silent blade, its hull reflecting the dim light of distant stars. Inside, the crew moved with quiet precision. Every corridor hummed with readiness. Weapons systems were checked, engines tested, comms encrypted. But Elara Voss knew she couldn't just launch into war. Not yet. First she had to give the Galactic Council a chance to act. And she already suspected how that would go. The council chamber, the Galactic Council Hall, was a vast, circular room carved into the heart of the neutral planet Elara Prime. Dozens of alien delegations filled the tiered seating, their voices buzzing in a dozen languages. Holographic projectors showed planetary crests floating above each section. Elara entered with Ambassador Kai Draven, humanity's representative to the council. Kai was a tall man with sharp eyes and a reputation for cutting through political games. He carried the evidence file from Mysterian Gate, the video of the rescued child. When the council speaker, crystalline being named Schuyler, called the session to order, Kai wasted no time. Members of the council, Kai began, his voice carrying through the chamber, I bring before you an act of cruelty committed by the Vurak against a Terran child. He activated the hologram. The chamber fell silent as the image of the small girl, chained and trembling, filled the air above the center podium. Gasps came from some delegates. Others looked away uncomfortably. This, Kai continued, is a violation of every treaty we have signed. It is not just an attack on a human, it is an attack on the foundation of trust in this council. From the Vurak delegation seats, their leader, High Warlord Tresic, rose. His voice was like metal scraping stone. The child trespassed. In Vurak space. She broke our law. Our punishment was just. She is 8 years old. Kai's voice rose, sharp as a blade. Do you even hear yourself? Tresic's thin lips curled into something that might have been a smile. The Vurak do not make exceptions for weakness. The Vokai turned to the speaker. I call for immediate sanctions against the Vurak. Freeze their trade. Blockade their fleets. Force them to return any other humans they've taken. The chamber erupted into murmurs and overlapping translations. Delegates whispered with their aides, consulted datapads, and weighed their own interests. When the vote finally came, the results were clear and crushing. Motion denied, Schiller announced. Sanctions will not be placed at this time. The council will not interfere in Vurak judicial matters. Kai's hands clenched at his sides. So that's it? We'll let them chain children and call it justice? The speaker's voice was calm but cold. We will not risk destabilizing the galaxy over one human. The warning Kai didn't move for a moment. Then he leaned forward, his voice low but carrying to every corner of the chamber. If the council won't act, he said, humanity will. Some delegates laughed nervously. Others muttered about reckless threats. But the Vurak delegation only smirked, their eyes glittering with arrogance. Elara, standing silently behind Kai, spoke for the first time. Her voice was measured, but every word was like a hammer blow. You think we're asking permission? She said. We're not.
Hey.
She turned and walked out. Kai followed, the chamber erupting into a storm of voices, back on the Iron Vowers. Later, the human delegation left Elara Prime. The Iron Vow was waiting in high orbit. Lieutenant Wren met Elara at the airlock. How did it go? Elara's expression was unreadable, exactly as I expected. Wren hesitated. And now? Oh. She looked out at the stars, the faint light of distant systems shimmering like cold fire. Now, she said, we stop talking. Voice hardened. The council won't help us. That means we're free to act as we see fit. The unofficial order that night, Elara gathered her senior officers in the war room. The table lit up with a holographic star map, Vurak territory glowing in blood-red highlights. Every fleet movement, every defense station, every supply chain, Elara said, pointing to the data feeds. We learn it all. We take it apart piece by piece until the Vurak understands what they've done. One of the tactical officers frowned. Hey, this will be war. Elara met his gaze without blinking. It already is. They just don't know it yet. Somewhere in the deep black of Vurak space, ships moved like shadows, and humanity's vengeance had begun to take shape. The Iron Vow drifted in the shadow of a dead moon. Its lights dimmed, engines cold. On scanners, it was little more than a speck invisible to all but the most advanced detection systems. Inside, the air was tense. The war had not been officially declared, but for Elara Voss and her crew, the mission had already begun. A new threat in the ship's war room. The lights were low, the only illumination coming from the soft glow of the holotable. A map of Vurak. Space rotated slowly above it, hundreds of red icons marking military outposts, shipyards, and defense stations. Captain Rourke, commander of the Terran Black Ops Division, stood beside Elara. He was a man built for war. Broad shoulders, cold eyes, and the kind of voice that didn't need to shout to command attention. Intel confirms they're building more of those disciplined cells, Rourke said, his voice like gravel. Not just for humans, other species too. But humans. We're the priority targets. Elara's jaw tightened. They're planning more. Rourke nodded. Our orders are clear. Identify and eliminate every facility before it's operational. The room fell silent for a moment as the implications sank in. This wasn't going to be a clean war. It was going to be fought in shadows, one strike at a time. Preparing the strike teams deep in the Iron Vow's lower decks, strike teams gathered in the armory. Rows of matte black exosuits gleamed under harsh lights. Weapons were checked, ammo counted, and mission packs sealed. Sergeant Vale, a cybernetically enhanced Marine, flexed his left arm, the plating along it humming faintly. Targets? He asked. 5 shipyards, 2 prison transports, and 1 command relay, Rourke said. All within the next 72 hours. Vale gave a low whistle. It's a lot of noise in a short time. Rourke's reply was ice. Cold. Noise is the point. First mission, the relay station, the Iron Vow emerged from warp in a dead zone between systems. There, a Vurak relay station hung like a spider in the dark, its spindly arms reaching out to catch and transmit signals across their empire. Under the cover of a drifting asteroid, 2 stealth shuttles launched from the Iron Vow's hangar. Inside, the strike teams moved in silence. When they boarded the station, the first Vurak guard didn't even have time to sound an alarm. Vale's suppressed railgun dropped him instantly. The humans moved like shadows, clearing corridors with precise, practiced motions. The control room was breached in under 4 minutes. Charges set. One Marine reported. Elara's voice crackled over comms. Make it count. The strike team withdrew, and moments later, the relay station vanished in a silent bloom of fire. Its burning debris scattering into the void. The message. Destruction of the relay wasn't just about cutting communications, it was a message. Within hours, every Vurak commander in the sector knew someone had struck at their infrastructure. But no one knew who. That uncertainty was Elara's weapon. Back in the shadows, when Elara swung. The Iron Vow slipped back into deep space. The crew moved quickly. To plan the next hit, Rourke leaned over the holotable, marking new coordinates. Shipyard Sigma 4. If we take it out, we cripple their ability to build warships for months. Elara nodded slowly. Then Sigma 4 is next. No survivors. No witnesses. We keep them guessing who's coming for them. As the ship's engine slid up for the next jump, the rescued child, now safe in the medbay, sat quietly, watching the stars through a small VIEWPORT. She didn't understand the scale of the war being set in motion for her, but Elara did. And, in her mind, the plan was simple. Burn their fleets, break their worlds, and make sure no one ever forgot what happened when you hurt a human child. The Iron Vow emerged from hyperspace, like a predator breaking through the waves. Before it hung Vurak Colony World Trell, a dusty red planet surrounded by orbital defense platforms and patrolling warships. But today, those defenses would mean nothing. The countdown to fire in the Iron Vow's command center. A low, steady voice counted down. 5 minutes to strike range. Commander Elara Voss stood at the central console, her hands clasped behind her back. Her eyes never left the tactical display. Red icons for enemy ships, blue for her own. The board was stacked in the Vurak's favor. On paper, enemy. Fleet is moving to intercept, reported Lieutenant Wren. Elara's voice was calm. Good. We'll deal with them first. Round her. The bridge crew worked in tense silence. They all knew what was about to happen. This wasn't a stealth mission. This was an announcement. The first shot the Vurak fleet opened fire first, their energy beams slicing through space. Shields on the Iron Vow flared blue but held. Return fire, Elara ordered. The Iron Vow's main railguns boomed, launching. Hypervelocity slugs the size of small cars. The first enemy cruiser shattered under the impact. Breaking apart into molten debris, target their command ship, Elara said. A volley of missiles streaked from the Iron Vow, weaving through enemy. Point defense fire before slamming into the Vurak flagship. A heartbeat later, the ship's core went critical, blooming into a silent, expanding ball of white fire. Breaking the defenses with the flagship gone, the rest of the Vurak ships faltered. Strike wings of Terran gunships swept in, hammering orbital. Platforms with precision strikes. Platform 3 down. Platform 5 down. Platform 7 gone. One by one, the colony's orbital defenses fell silent. The planet below was now exposed. The planet burns from high orbit. The Iron Vow's forward batteries rotated downward. Elara gave the order without hesitation. Fire. Lances of plasma streaked into the atmosphere, striking the Vurak military. Bases on the surface, shockwaves rippled across the red sands as entire fortifications vanished in blinding light. On the colony's capital plateau, alien civilians scrambled for cover as Terran forces targeted military assets, weapons depots, fighter hangars, and fuel reserves. The sky turned into a wall of fire. The message to the galaxy when the fighting was over. Only smoldering wreckage remained. Where once the Vurak's proud defenses stood, Elara ordered the combat footage compiled and transmitted not just to Earth, but to every neutral and hostile system within range. The final image was deliberate. The Terran fleet in orbit, the burning colony below, and Elara's voice overcomes. This is what happens when you harm a human. Every world you touch will burn until justice is done. The captured commander among the few survivors pulled from the wreckage was Vurak Commander Dresh, scarred and furious. In the Iron Vow's interrogation room, Elara stood across from him. You could have stopped this, she said. You will never reach our home world, Dresh spat. It is impregnable. Elara smiled, just slightly. We'll see. As the Iron Vow prepared to jump to its next target, the rescued human child, safe in the medbay, finally spoke for the first time since her rescue. She whispered one word to the nurse watching over her, burn. And the war rolled on. Iron Vow dropped out of hyperspace into the heart of enemy territory. For them stretched the jewel of the Vurak Empire, Vurak Prime, a massive ocean and forest world wrapped in glittering cities and fortified space stations. It was the seat of their power, and the place where their leaders had laughed when a human child screamed. the sky afire from orbit. The Vurak defense grid lit up immediately. Dozens of massive station cannons turned toward the Terran fleet. Swarms of fighter craft launched. In perfect formation, black dots against the bright blue curve of the planet, multiple capital ships inbound. Reported Tactical Officer Wren. Reading. 28 confirmed. 28 warships against 12 Terran heavy vessels. The odds weren't good, but Commander Elara Voss didn't blink. They think numbers will save them, she said. They're wrong. I target the fleet command. Relay. Break their coordination. Breaking the chain, the battle began in silence. Then space lit up like a storm. Plasma beams streaked between ships. Torpedoes arced toward targets. Railgun slugs shattered holes in brutal flashes. Terran frigates darted through the chaos, delivering precise strikes at the Vurak command relays. Chain reaction, blinding half the enemy fleet's targeting systems. They're scattering, Wren called out. Good, Elara said. Push them back. Keep them busy while we hit the surface. Salt on the capital from the Iron Vows. Launch bays, dropships screamed into the atmosphere, flanked by gunships. Their target, Zorthan Spire, the political heart of the Vurak Empire. On the ground, towering alien skyscrapers cast shadows over wide plazas. Anti-air fire blazed upward, but Terran craft punched through, dropping elite Marines into the city's heart. The Palace Breakinth Marines moved fast, cutting through Vurak royal guards with disciplined bursts of fire. Inside the Grand Palace, with its towering crystal pillars, the Vurak High Council huddled in panic. The chamber doors blew inward. Captain, Marek of the Terran Marines stepped through, rifle raised. By order of the Terran Defense Command, you are under arrest for crimes against humanity. The counselors hissed in rage, some reaching for concealed weapons. It didn't matter, the ultimatum meanwhile in orbit. Elara patched into the planetary comms. Her face appeared across every Vurak screen, from military command posts to civilian homes. You thought humans would never come for you, she said. You thought your worlds were untouchable? This is your warning. Surrender now, or watch your cities burn. For the first time, the Vurak High Council hesitated. The twist just as victory seemed near. Sensors screamed a new alert. A massive shadow emerged from behind Vurak Prime's moon, an alien warship unlike any the Terrans had ever seen. 3 times larger than the Iron Vow, bristling with weapon arrays. The crew froze as the tactical computer registered its name. Vurak Sovereign. It's their flagship, Wren whispered. And it's coming straight for us. Elara narrowed her eyes. Then we finish this before it finishes us. The Vurak Sovereign loomed over Vurak Prime like a dark god. It was a warship so large it cast a shadow across the planets. Upper atmosphere. Armor plates the size of city blocks gleamed under the system's twin suns, and its main gun was a weapon that could pierce continents. For the first time since the battle began, the Iron Vow's crew went quiet. The gun that could end a world energy spike, Wren shouted from tactical. It's charging the spinal cannon. Elara saw the readings. If the Sovereign fired, it wouldn't just destroy the Iron Vow. The beam would burn through the fleet, the dropships, and half the Terran forces on the ground. The cum crackled. A Vurak commander's voice slithered through the static. Terran vessel. You've come far? Now die far from home. Elara didn't flinch. All ships full thrust. We take the fight to them. David versus Goliath, the Iron Vow roared forward, followed by the battered Terran fleet. The Sovereign's flak guns came alive, filling space with firestorms. Several Terran frigates vanished in brilliant explosions. The massive alien warship was slow to turn, but every shot it fired was devastating. One Terran destroyer took a direct hit. It simply ceased to exist. The risky plan Elara studied the Sovereign's design. That cannon's overpowered. If we hit the reactor conduits while it's charging, the feedback might cripple it. Blow us all to hell, Wren muttered. Better us than every Terran on the ground, she replied. She ordered the Iron Vow to dive below the Sovereign's firing arc, weaving through deadly flak bursts. The hull shook with every near miss. Inside the monster's shadow, as the Iron Vow closed in, the Sovereign's hull filled the view screen. kilometers of alien alloy, studded with weapon arrays and shield emitters. Elara's voice was calm. Target. Reactor conduit junctions. Fire everything we have. Torpedoes streaked forward. Railgun slugs smashed into armor. The Sovereign's shields flared bright, then dimmed under the relentless assault. The moment of truth conduits exposed. Ren shouted. Elara gave the order, fired the spinal railgun. The Iron Vow's main gun unleashed a single tungsten slug at near-light speed. It tore through the Sovereign's side, slamming into the reactor conduit just as the enemy cannon reached full charge. For a heartbeat, the universe went still. Then the Sovereign screamed. The reactor feedback erupted into a chain of explosions. Racing across the ship's spine, the main gun's energy discharge ripped free, arcing wildly into space, slicing a Vurak station in half. The price of victory, the Sovereign didn't explode in a single fireball, it broke apart. Massive chunks of burning hull drifted in orbit, shedding debris like glowing embers. But the Iron Vow wasn't unscathed. Fires raged on multiple decks, casualties mounted, and the ship's shields were gone. Status of ground forces? Elara asked. Still fighting, Ren said. But they're winning. Elara nodded. Then we hold orbit until they're done. The Vurak will know we're not leaving until justice is finished. The skies above Vurak Prime glowed red, not from the suns, but from the flames of war. The Iron Vow hung in low orbit, its hull scorched, its guns still hot from the flagship. Battle. Below, Terran ground forces were locked in brutal city-to-city combat. But now, Elara was ready to unleash the weapon the Vurak feared most. The promise. We made her voice echoed through the Terran fleet channel. They hurt one of ours. They burned her skin. They laughed when we asked for justice. We warned them, and now we keep our word. From every Terran ship, bomb bay doors opened. Long shadows of kinetic drop pods stretched across the planet's clouds. In the Vurak capital, civilians and soldiers alike looked up and saw death falling from the heavens. City under siege. Colonel Hayes, leading the 22nd Terran Marines, advanced through the burning streets. Vurak soldiers fought like cornered predators, using plasma weapons and shield drones. But Terrans weren't holding back anymore. Mech stomped through the avenues, smashing barricades. Dropships landed squads on rooftops, cutting off escape routes. Push them to the palace, Hayes ordered. We're ending this war today. Orbital strikes, though. Iron Vows, gunnery crew, locked targets, power plants, military foundries, weapons depots. Orbital railguns fired, each slug striking with the force of an asteroid impact. Entire districts vanished in pillars of molten debris. Vurak commanders screamed over open comms. Terrans, cease fire. This is slaughter. Lara's reply was, East Cold, you started it. The palace of Ashay's Marines reached the Vurak palace gates, an enormous wall of alien steel. It took 2 mechs and a demolition charge the size of a truck to blast through. Inside, the Vurak War Council huddled around a tactical table. Their guards fought desperately, but one by one, they fell to Terran rifles. Hayes stepped into the throne, room smoke swirling around him. Where's your leader? He growled. The Vurak Prime Minister hissed. You will never tame us. Hayes silenced him with a single shot. In orbit, Elara received confirmation. Ground control achieved. Proceed with planetary cleansing, she ordered. From the dark. Void above, Terran warships began their final bombardment. Oceans boiled, forests turned to cinders. The great cities of Vurak Prime became oceans of fire. The screams of the Vurak carried over comms until there was only static. The planet Vurak Prime was gone. Where once there were oceans and cities, there was now a smoking wasteland of molten rock and drifting ash. But Commander Elara Voss knew. This war wasn't over. Not yet. A warning to the galaxy from the Iron Vow's bridge, Elara looked straight into the holocom. Her words would be broadcast to every world, every space station, every alien who thought humans could be touched without consequence. This is Commander Elara Voss of the Terran Defense Fleet. The Vurak harmed a human child. They thought no one would dare respond. They thought wrong. Their worlds are gone. Their fleets are ash. If you ever harm another human, we'll find you. We will burn your skies. There will be nothing left. Across the galaxy, alien leaders watched in silence. The survivors in the ruins of Vurak Prime, a few scattered. Survivors hid in bunkers deep beneath the crust. Terran drones swept the tunnels, marking coordinates for follow-up strikes. Colonel Hayes reported in. Prime is secure. No further resistance. Elara gave the order, leave them, at them. Remember. The child's return, the rescued girl, Lena, stood on the Iron Vow's observation deck. Her burns were healing, but her eyes still held shadows. She stared at the stars, her voice barely a whisper. They won't take me again, will they?
Lada?
Knelt beside her. No. No one will ever touch you again, not while humanity stands. The galaxy reacts in distant worlds. Alien rulers began tearing up treaties with the Vurak's former allies. Fear spread faster than light. Some called humanity savages, others called them protectors. But one truth settled into every alien mind. Humans might forgive. They might forget. But they will never allow harm to one of their own. The legacy of the fire is the Iron Vow prepared to jump back to Earth. Elara looked at her crew. The war had cost lives, but the message was clear. From this day on, a new law ruled the stars. Touch a human, your world will burn. The fleet vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind only the echo of thunder, the smoldering memory of a species that learned fear too late.